Okay, I'm going to try to get this right. Um, what I want to do today is talk a little bit about our heritage of freedom and tolerance. And one of the people I want to use is Baruch Spinoza. Um, and you'd really need a year or more to really study Spinoza, but he was philosopher. His profession was a lens grinder, but he lived in the Dutch Republic, Amsterdam, in the 1600s. He was of Jewish heritage, although he had been excommunicated at one point by them in Amsterdam. But the Dutch Republic, when he was there, was one of the most tolerant places, not only in Europe but in the world. And his ancestors had been expelled or fled from Spain probably after 1492, when Ferdinand and Isabella took control of the whole peninsula. Uh, anyway, I'll get into that, but they ended up, after various stops in Amsterdam, and prospered, and his father was a merchant and had done quite well, and he was looked upon as a really well thought of young scholar, and he was an extremely brilliant man, loved mathematics and philosophy, and he studied Christian writers and thinkers as well as Jewish writers and thinkers. But because of, and you can understand this, the circumstances of his heritage and where he lived, uh, uh, the idea of tolerance and freedom were big to him. At one point, he had written, and this is from a book called Dominion, which is really, pardon me, more about Christianity than anything. But anyway, he writes, "We are fortunate to enjoy the rare happiness of living in a republic where every person's liberty to judge for himself is respected. Everyone is permitted to worship God according to his own mind, and nothing is thought dearer or sweeter than freedom." Now, freedom for him and for all of us should be very important. Freedom is hard work. But he goes on to say, "It is not the purpose of the state to change men from rational beings into brutes or puppets, but rather to enable them to exercise their mental and physical powers in safety and use their reason freely, and to prevent them from fighting and quarreling. Thus, hatred, anger, bad faith, and mutual malice is not the purpose of the state. Freedom is the purpose of the state." Um, the state, anyway, basically the role of the state is to keep us from fighting or hurting one another so that we might exercise our powers in safety and freedom. Freedom, again, is the purpose of the state. It is not the purpose of the state or the role of the state to make us better persons or wealthy or happy or virtuous. The power for that is limited. Trying to censor or control thought and even speech is likely to end in tyranny because these are not easily controllable. So the thing we have to keep coming back to over and over is, in our own time and place, we have people trying to control thought. We always have that. We in the United States also live in a republic. It's not a democracy. I've said that before. And we, the founders of this republic, tried to limit the power of the state. And the people trying to destroy that right now really don't have any idea, I believe, in what they're doing, because if you destroy the very foundations, what do you have to build back on? And a lot of what they use, and a lot of their reasoning, if you want to call it that, is derived from the very ideas and foundations of the state they seek to destroy. But, and this goes to their thought, to hate is to acknowledge our inferiority and our fear. We do not hate a foe whom we are confident we can overcome. He who wishes to revenge injuries by reciprocal hatred will live in misery. And you see that every day. There are people, you see that in the videos, people on the street, and they're just wrapped up. And now you have a popular term calling some people Karens, which is the same for somebody named Karen. But the thing is people are trying to dominate other individuals because they do not feel confident in their own lives. They do not have any idea of what they are or what they can be. They just feel so bad that they have to control other people. And there's another writer that gets into that, that's how you have these mass movements that get started, and the mob mentality that takes place and the destruction is these are people who have no concept of themselves as something worthwhile. So they wrap themselves up in a movement that will make them feel greater than they are, because they don't feel good about themselves. But minds are conquered not by arms but by greatness of soul. So over the centuries, and this republic was built on that, education was used to make a better mind, to make us think critically. Unfortunately, now educators don't want to educate. They want to indoctrinate because it's easier to indoctrinate. To make people think, to critically think something through is really hard work. Without thought, only part of a situation can be perceived. And that's where we are. We have people roaming around chanting slogans and they're not really thinking anything through. And it's, that will change. But the upheaval that goes on before it changes is not going to be pretty. It is not pretty. When I was a young man, the great cities in this country were wonderful places to go. And over the years now, they have turned into not very nice. I used to love San Francisco, and I haven't been there recently, but everything that I read, and again, you have to take that, but I see it's not good. And large portions of Los Angeles, same thing. Chicago, New York City, Boston. They've let the cities deteriorate. Austin, Texas, which I used to go to quite often, is not in good shape, and they're destroying the foundations without thinking of what they're going to build, or they're going to try to build something new without a foundation and hold it up with their bare hands without any thought going into what they're doing. Marxism is where a lot of them go, and Marxism is built purely on emotion, and it's an economic theory that describes something that was going on in the early to mid 19th century. That has changed, but the people that read it have not. And if you base your life on emotion, if you base everything on emotion, then you're going to take a huge fall, and you're going to take a lot with you. So I know I need to wrap this up, but I would encourage you to read Spinoza. It's not an easy read. He gets into a lot of things, but this is the thing. Freedom is hard. Toleration is hard, and toleration has to go both ways. One side can't be tolerant of another side that's trying to rip that side down. So that's a two-way street. And right now you have people who have been abused in the past. They're not anymore, but now they are trying to persecute people if those people don't go along with what they want. And tolerance is a two-way street. Freedom is hard work. You have to hold your elected representatives to account. And we have a bureaucracy right now that is not accountable, and that needs to change too. And that can only happen if we, the people, do that. And we, the people, have to read more, and we have to think more, and we have to give up the yelling and the screaming and the hollering, because that's not going to accomplish anything. And beating people down is not going to accomplish anything. Shutting them up is not going to accomplish anything, because then it goes underground and then you have an explosion. I need to go back now. And anyway, if you get the opportunity, read Baruch Spinoza. Wonderful stuff. And maybe we'll talk about him more later because he has some great things. Have a good day.